the mayor, and the chair. Hi, nice to see you, and thank you for electing me. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. I came back here to Watertown simply to say thank you. I won the election a few weeks ago. Very, very good margin in Jefferson County. I was gratified to get the votes not only of Democrats, but of many independents and Republicans. And my promise is a very simple one. I don't take these elections lightly. An election is a very important, almost sacred experience that soldiers throughout the generations have died for. And my promise to the people of Jefferson County and to New York State is I will work hard every day for the next 6 years to earn the faith that you have shown in me and to earn your vote again, if God willing, I'm able to run for re-election 6 years from now.
Seems like there may be a new emphasis in Washington tackling the deficit, and strong suggestions that the military, for the first time since 9/11, may be on the table again. How's that bode for Fort Drum?
Well, I think that even the kinds of military cuts that are proposed, and we got to be careful because, you know, our defense is number one. That's one of the two reasons we have government. We have government to protect us from foreign enemies, that's our defense, and domestic enemies, that's the sheriff, wherever you're at, there he is, and local law enforcement. And so, but Fort Drum is suited for the 21st century. The kind of the 10th Mountain Division, the kind of soldiers, light infantry that we have there are what's needed more and more. So I think even if there were military cuts, it would not affect Fort Drum. Our military necessities, whether they be in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Lord knows where else it's going to be, is going to need the kind of soldiers we train at Fort Drum. So I think the future is very positive for growth at Fort Drum. And I will work to see that it happens.
Sticking along the lines of Fort Drum, you alluded to the fact that we have a major crisis coming up in 2012, which is the housing crisis. What can the federal government do in the next year, in a month, to really
Well, I've been
help?
meeting with the local folks here in the county, as well as both the folks at departments of DOD and HUD. When you have an area like this, Jefferson County, it's, you know, it doesn't have a huge population, about 100,000 people, and you have a fort that is growing, it creates huge strains on housing. We have people who have to live, you know, 50 miles away to find housing they can afford in Oswego and even in Syracuse, soldiers and others. And so what I hope to do is get all of the federal authorities who are involved in this, both on the defense side and the civilian side, to come up with some new ideas and new programs to help us. We've done some things, but we have much more to go.
Will there be gridlock in Washington?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. My view is this: as I said, the middle class is hurting. This is the first decade since World War II where actual middle class incomes declined. If you look at the overall figures, they went up, and that's because people who were very wealthy did much better even than they did before. But even before the recession, middle class incomes were not going up. And so the middle class helped send a message of change in 2008 when President Obama and the electorate and the Democrats were swept in, and then a message in 2010 when the Republicans were swept in. And it's the same message. We need help. Focus on us and stop playing the partisan games that prevent any progress and prevent middle class lives from improving. Any political leader, any political party, any political group that simply stands in the corner, folds its arms and says, unless you do it my way, I'm going to block everything, is going to fail. My message to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle is reach across the aisle, as I have with Senator Hatch and Senator Graham, to do good things that will help the middle class.
Are you hopeful there could be a compromise reached on the Bush-era tax cuts before the end of the year?
Yes, and you know, my view is we're in a recession, and middle-class people are hurting. So I would be for giving the tax cuts to everybody but millionaires. The millionaires are doing great. And their increase can go to reduce the deficit, not to be spent, but to go to reduce the deficit. And I think that's the right formula. Everyone else can do it.
Because of the GOP gains in the House in New York, New York's lost a considerable amount of influence in Congress. What is this going to affect us? In what way?
Well, you know, look, again, I'm going to work with all our newly elected Congress members. Congressman Owens is still here, of course, but a little further to the south. It looks like there may be change. Certainly, Congressman Arcuri will be replaced by Mayor Hanna, and we don't know what the election results will say in the district in Syracuse and over there, but it's close. But you know, the delegations that do best are the delegations that work together in a bipartisan way, and I've already begun reaching out to my new colleagues to tell them I'll use whatever clout I can working with you as a team to help the North Country and help New York.
Senator, back to the deficit for a moment. Would you agree that if we do get serious about tackling that, that it's going to require some pretty painful sacrifices and cuts to some very broad-based and popular entitlements that folks are used to?
Well, I would say this. There is no question, for instance, that the entitlements of Medicare and Medicaid are the two fastest growing parts of the budget and have to be tackled. But anyone who's gone to any hospital knows, anyone who's even dealt with lots of doctors, that there's so much duplication. And we know that a small number of doctors and others cause the cost to go way up. I think we can eliminate the waste, the fraud, the duplication, the inefficiencies in the system without hurting the health care that goes to average people. And we have to focus on that. The health care bill did a little of that, but not enough, and we have to do a lot more. Let me give you one just simple little example. If there was one form, you know, every company, every provider has its own form. So you go to a doctor's office, and who's there? One doctor, one nurse, and 5 people just sitting there filling out forms. If you required one form, you could save $40 or $50 billion a year. If you had records start becoming electronic, you could save a lot of money. So these kind of efficiencies can really save us a whole lot of money without hurting the health care, the benefits that people get, whether they have, you know, Medicare or their employer provides it.
And that means less jobs, though, too, right?
Well, you know, it'll shift the jobs. I mean, we will have to shift the jobs around. But what we really need to do is expand private sector jobs, not governmental jobs. And the government's job is to set the right conditions so that private sector jobs happen. Reducing the payroll tax, as I've proposed and succeeded in passing, makes it easier to employ people, things like that. Okay? Well, thank you again. And a good Thanksgiving to one and all. And again, let me thank our owners of the Crystal for their hospitality. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you. Great to be here. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.